Do not become, be, or remain a self-serving advisor, one who does things for his or her benefit. In 2 Samuel 1 and later in 2 Samuel 4, different men came to David to announce the death of kings. Saul and later his son Ishbosheth to David. And especially in 2 Samuel 4, those men thinking they're going to get a reward, but instead they were executed. So there are people who are doing things, and ultimately they're not advisors to others to help them. They're advisors to others to help and advance themselves. And a great example of this is in Esther 6, verses 1 through 10. Because ultimately, for a person who is a self-serving advisor, you risk the opportunity of things blowing up in your face royally. So in Esther 6, verses 1 through 10. On that night, could not the king sleep? And he commanded to bring the books of records of the Chronicles, and they were read before the king. And it was found written that Mordecai had told Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's chamberlains, the keepers of the door, who sought to lay hand on the king Ahasuerus. And the king said, What honor and dignity hath been done to Mordecai for this? Then the king's servants that ministered unto him, then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, There is nothing done for him. And the king said, Who is in the court? Now Haman was come into the court, into the outward court of the king's house, to speak unto the king to hang Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him. I remember one of my sisters telling me when I was younger, if you're going to dig a hole as a trap for someone else, dig two, just in case you fall into the first one. Now, I don't need to dig holes for people. People are pretty skilled at digging their own holes. So Haman had gallows set up for Mordecai. By the way, what was Mordecai's offense? When people were lauding Haman and bowing down to him, Mordecai refused. So Haman was offended, and now he's going to try to kill him. We also see the hand of God in the story. Even though the book of Esther doesn't mention God by name, but we see God's hand in the story where it just happened that the king couldn't go to sleep. Wonder why? And then just pull out the books of Chronicles and they just happen to read from the section about Mordecai and what he had done. The Lord sees the plans of the wicked, and he knows how to cut them off. And he also knows how to make those plans backfire. And the king's servants said unto him, Behold, Haman standeth in the court. And the king said, Let him come in. So Haman came in. So all this stuff is seems as if it's going to work out for Haman. He already had the gallows, showed up, the king happened to be up, and then he had the king's permission to come in. And the king said unto him, What shall be done unto the man whom the king delighteth to honor? Now Haman thought in his heart, To whom would the king delight to honor more than myself? So we see this heart of a man being a self-serving advisor. Not doing stuff to say, if you want to honor someone, do this. No, he's thinking about himself. Be careful about giving people advice because you're trying to advance your own agenda. You're trying to insert yourself into position. And especially in a position, God has it ordained for another. And Haman answered the king, For the man whom the king delighteth to honor. Let the royal apparel be brought which the king useth to wear, and the horse that the king rideth upon, and the crown royal which is set upon his head. This almost seems like making this man the king wanted honor like a king himself. Was it Austin Powers? There's mini me. So it's like one made this person a mini king. But in his heart, he's thinking, I'm the man, so this is how I want the king to honor me. A self-serving advisor. And let this apparel and horse be delivered to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, that they may array the man withal, whom the king delighteth to honor, and bring him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaim before him, Thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delighteth to honor. Again, he's giving this advice, thinking he's going to be the one to benefit from it. Then the king said to Haman, Make haste, and take the apparel and the horse, and, as thou hadst said, and do even to Mordecai the Jew. That must have felt like a javelin being thrust into Haman's dark heart. And do even so to Mordecai the Jew, that sitteth at the king's gate. Let nothing fail of all that thou hast spoken. Has the enemy ever contrived a plan against you, and you caught wind of it? But then the Lord just turned things upside down. And as Paul wrote in Romans 8:38, that all those things worked out for your good. The Lord used them for your good. Or in Genesis 50 verse 20, everything that was meant for harm, God, or for evil or harm, God is using to save lives. The Lord made the plan backfire. And a part of this is because Haman was a self-serving advisor, thinking he was going to be the benefactor of this honor. But instead, he had to put all this stuff on Mordecai, parade him around on a king's horse in his apparel, and say, this is what a king does for whom he delights in. Haman, a self-serving advisor. His plans, his grandiose plans, like all the enemy's plans, backfired.